Hello beautiful people, and welcome back to my channel. So in today's video we're going to be talking about my August reads, and I know it looks very minimal. However, most of the books I read were on my Kindle this month, and this was the only physical book that I read. So without further ado, let's jump right in. So as you guys know, I wrote all my books down. So the first book I read, actually we'll just talk about this one first since it's the only physical book. This was my book of the month subscription pick for August, and it's called Daisy Darker by Alex Feeney. And it says, after years of avoiding one another, Daisy Darker's entire family is assembling for Nana's 80th birthday party in Nana's crumbling Gothic house on a tiny tidal island. They're finally back together one last time, and when the tide comes in, they'll be cut off from the rest of the world for 8 hours. The family arrives, each of them harboring secrets, then at the stroke of midnight, as the storm rages, Nana is found dead. An hour later, the next family member follows. Trapped on an island where someone is killing them one by one, the Darkers must reckon with their present mystery as well as their past secrets before the tide goes out and all is revealed. With the wicked wink to Agatha Christie's And Then There Were None, Daisy Darker's unforgettable twist will leave readers reeling. And I will say that the ending of this book I did not expect at all. I thought I had figured it out, and then it turns out I didn't figure it out, and it was nothing that I expected at all. So I would give this like a 4 out of 5. It was definitely interesting. The only thing that I didn't like about it is that it's told in 2 point of views, so there's a lot of back and forth from the present to the past. Sometimes I just wished it would just like stay in the present a little bit longer. But there's a lot of stories that they talk about from the past, but it makes sense like in the end when everything comes together. It was just a little too much back and forth for me. You know what I mean? But yeah, read this one. If you like thrillers, I would definitely recommend that. So the first book was Book Lovers by Emily Henry, and this one I did pay for on my Kindle. It wasn't in Kindle Unlimited, but the rest of the books I read, I believe, were all Kindle Unlimited. But this one says, Nora Stevens' life is books. She's read them all, and she is not that type of heroine. Not the plucky one, not the laid-back dream girl, and especially not the sweetheart. In fact, the only people Nora is a heroine for are her clients, for whom she lands enormous deals as a cutthroat literary agent, and her beloved little sister, Libby. Which is why she agrees to go to Sunshine Falls, North Carolina for the month of August, when Libby begs her for a sister's trip away, with visions of a small town transformation for Nora, who she's convinced needs to become the heroine of her own story. But instead of picnics and meadows, a run-in with a handsome country doctor, or bulging four-armed bartender, Nora keeps bumping into Charlie Lastra, a bookish brooding editor from back in the city. It would be a meet cute if not for the fact that they've met many times and it's never been cute. If Nora knows she's not an ideal heroine, Charlie knows he's nobody's hero. But as they are thrown together again and again in a series of coincidences no editor worth their salt would allow, what they discover might just unravel the carefully crafted stories they've written about themselves. So it's kind of like an enemies to lovers trope, I guess I would say. It does have one of those cute feel-good endings that makes us all feel a little better about life. But it was very cute. I did like that one. I would give it like a 4 out of 5 stars too. It was a little bit on the longer side. I think it was almost 400 pages. So like the story dragged down a little bit too much, if that makes sense. Like I wish there was a little bit, you know, I wish it was a little bit shorter, but it was a very good book nonetheless. So the next book I read was The Wife Between Us. And it has 2 authors, so it's Greer Hendricks and Sarah Pekkanen. And if you guys remember oh my gosh, what month was that? I don't remember what month it was, but I did read one of their other books called The Golden Couple. They both wrote that one as well. So they did read this one. It was on Kindle Unlimited. So I really liked that. So it says, when you read this book, you will make many assumptions. You will assume you are reading about a jealous ex-wife. You will assume she is obsessed with her replacement, a beautiful younger woman who is about to marry the man they both love. You will assume you know the anatomy of this tangled love triangle. Assume nothing. Twisted and deliciously chilling, Greer Hendricks and Sarah Pekkanin's The Wife Between Us exposes the secret complexities of an inevitable marriage and the dangerous truths we ignore in the name of love. Loved this book. I really enjoyed it. It was kind of like a thriller, I guess you could say. But like they said, as you're reading it, you have in your mind like what you think the story is and like the viewpoints that they're coming from, but then there ends up being a twist and it's not what you thought it is. And words. And I like books that are like that. Like, I don't like reading books that are predictable. Like, I'd much rather have a book that throws me for a loop, and this one definitely did that. So I would recommend this one. I think I liked this one more than The Golden Couple, and I really liked The Golden Couple, but I think I liked this one just a little bit more. So I did read a homeschooling book, and it's called The Unhurried Homeschooler by Dorinda Wilson. It says, homeschooling is a wonderful, worthwhile pursuit, but many homeschool parents struggle with feelings of burnout and frustration. If you have ever felt this way, you're not alone. Most of us need to be reminded of the why of homeschooling from time to time, but the unhurried homeschooler takes parents a step further and lifts the unnecessary burdens that many parents place on themselves. So basically, just as the title suggests, not rushing your schooling, not rushing your kids to learn things, and basically just letting them learn more through play than like sitting down with a bunch of worksheets and stuff like that, and how something that works for you may not work for someone else in their homeschooling family, and vice versa. And it talks about how you shouldn't compare your journeys because we're all on different homeschooling journeys and different things work for different people, and even between your kids, what works for one child may not work for the next child, and how you shouldn't carry the burden of feeling that everything in your homeschool needs to be completely perfect. The next read was The Last Mrs Parish by Liv Constantine, and it kind of has the same layout that The Wife Between Us does. So it's kind of like the wife and then the mistress kind of thing going on. But the summary of this says, Amber Patterson is fed up. She's tired of being a nobody, a plain, invisible woman who blends into the background. She deserves more, a life of money and power like the one blonde-haired, blue-eyed goddess Daphne Parish takes for granted. To everyone in the exclusive town of Bishop's Harbor, Connecticut, Daphne, a socialite and philanthropist, and her real estate Mongol husband, Jackson, are a couple straight out of a fairy tale. Amber's envy could eat her alive if she didn't have a plan. Amber uses Daphne's compassion and care to insinuate herself into the family life. The first step is a meticulous scheme to undermine her. Before long, Amber is Daphne's closest confidant, traveling to Europe with the Parishes and their lovely daughters and growing closer to Jackson. But a skeleton from her past may undermine everything that Amber has worked towards, and if it is discovered, her well-laid plan may fall to pieces. With shocking turns and dark secrets that will keep you guessing until the very end, The Last Mrs Parish is a fresh, juicy, and utterly addictive thriller from a diabolically imaginative talent. I did like this book. However, like I said, it kind of has the same feel as The Wife Between Us, and two, I hated Amber. I absolutely despised her. And I don't usually hate characters in books, but Amber I could not stand. Like, everything about her I just did not like at all. And it's one of those where you shouldn't judge a book by its cover and everything is not what it seems, because as the more you learn about Jackson, the husband, the more you realize that it's not all rainbows and cupcakes and butterflies and unicorns, and you shouldn't wish to be in someone else's position because you don't know what they're truly going through. So I mean, Amber kind of got a taste of her own medicine in the end, and I don't really feel bad for her. But yeah, it was a good book. I just really could not stand Amber, and then in the end I could not stand Jackson. So if you can get past those things, it's a good read. And then, of course, we can't have a book review month without having a co-host book in here. So I read Regretting You by Colleen Hoover. And this one says, Morgan Grant and her 16-year-old daughter, Clara, would like nothing more than to be nothing alike. Morgan is determined to prevent her daughter from making the same mistakes she did. By getting pregnant and married way too young, Morgan puts her dreams on hold. Clara doesn't want to follow in her mother's footsteps. Her predictable mother doesn't have a spontaneous bone in her body. With varying personalities and conflicting goals, Morgan and Clara find it increasingly difficult to coexist. The only person who can bring peace to the household is Chris, Morgan's husband and Clara's father, and the family anchor. But that peace is shattered when Chris is involved in a tragic and questionable accident. The heartbreaking and long-lasting consequences will reach far beyond just Morgan and Claire. While struggling to rebuild everything that crashed around them, Morgan finds comfort in the last person she expects to, and Clara turns to the one boy she's been forbidden to see. With each passing day, new secrets, resentment, and misunderstandings make mother and daughter fall apart. So far apart, it might be impossible for them to ever fall back together. So again, I liked this book, but it had a character that annoyed me, and it was Clara. And I know that 16-year-old girls can be very obnoxious. I know, I was a 16-year-old girl once. But I don't know, like, she just takes all her resentment and anger about the accident with her dad out on her mom. And if they would have talked about it sooner, a lot of pain and resentment could have been avoided, but instead they just kept avoiding each other and kept not talking about it, and then it just ends up blowing up in both of their faces to the point where they're forced to have no other choice but to talk about it. So it was good. Probably not my favorite Coho book, just because, like I said, Clara annoyed me. My favorite Coho book will always be It Ends With Us Now. But yeah. So the last book I read for the month was The Perfect Marriage by Geneva Rose. It says, Sarah Morgan is a successful and powerful defense attorney in Washington, D.C. As a named partner at her firm, life is going exactly how she planned. The same cannot be said for her husband, Adam. He's a struggling writer who has had little success in his career, and he tires of his and Sarah's relationship as she is constantly working. Out in the secluded woods at the couple's lake house, Adam engages in a passionate affair with Kelly Summers. But one morning, everything changes. Kelly is found brutally stabbed to death, and now Sarah must take on her hardest case yet, defending her own husband, a man accused of murdering his mistress. The Perfect Marriage is a juicy, twisty, and utterly addictive thriller that will keep you turning pages. You won't see the ending coming, guarantee. That is a fact. Okay, I read this book in a day and a half because it actually was very interesting. I was just walking around doing this because I couldn't put it down, but the ending threw me for a loop. So like, it basically goes back and forth. It's told from two points of view, so Sarah and Adam, so they kind of like flip-flop chapters. So then there's like Sarah's point of view, and then there's Adam's point of view, and it's everything that poor Sarah is dealing with in defending her husband in this case, which kudos to her, because I don't know many women who would go and defend their husband in a case where he was cheating on her, you know what I mean? So kudos to her for that. So it's basically like everything that she has is going through with that. And then it turns out, like, when the autopsy reports come back, like, Kelly had like a sedative in her system, and she also had 3 different people's DNA in her. So not just Adam's, the husband, but also her husband, and then also a third party as well. So as we can see, Kelly got around here. So yeah, so it's just about the whole story with that. And the ending, it was very good. I loved the ending, but I did not expect it. And at the end, I was just like, kudos, Sarah. Kudos to you. But yeah, I would definitely recommend that one. It is on Kindle Unlimited, so if you do have that, it would be free for you to read, and I definitely recommend it. It was a very good book. It was probably my favorite book I read for August, I would say. It was a very good thriller, because like I said, I love books that keep me guessing, and that ending I didn't expect. So probably my favorite read for the month of August. And that's it, guys. Thank you so much for watching. I can't wait to talk about September's books next month with you guys. I'm looking forward to it. Please like, share, subscribe if you haven't already. And let me know what your favorite book read was this month. I'll see you guys next time. Bye.